Hi friends, I owe you a backyard orchard tour. I want to show you the difference between about 1 month to about 6 weeks since I last pruned the trees. I really wanted you to see the difference in growth. So let's get started. We start over here by my citrus trees. My lime tree has really struggled with the heat this year. I've had to water it twice a day and it's still struggling, but it keeps coming back and I think it'll do okay. I don't have any fruit on it. My lemon tree on the other side is struggling with a little bit of leaf miner, so I need to come back and cut those off. Leaves look better than they did before. They're not that discolored. So there's progress here. My pomegranates. These are my babies and they look so full now. I still have a little slant, so I need to adjust that. And the one fruit that I left is still here. It's growing slow, but I'm excited to see what happens to it. I don't think it looks good, but I don't know this variety yet, so maybe that's just the way it is. Well, I do have the tag, and it does have that spotting, so that's just the way it's going to be. I'm loving my peaches and nectarines, and they have the most growth, especially my Anastasia nectarine. It has about 1.5 feet of growth. This is where I did my cut, and all this is new growth. Let's scoot in here so you can see. I cut here, and then we've got 2 shoots on both sides. My O. Henry is finally coming through, and it's gotten some growth in it. So I think he's gonna make it. Harco has some spotting here. Looks like some leaf burn, but I'm not sure yet. But it has a lot of new growth as well. All of this is the new growth from the pruning. And even though they're growing really well, I still need to come back and cut a lot of the new growth to keep it even with the rest. But that's not going to be until later. My apricots and plums also have a lot of new growth. They have about 6 to 8 inches of new growth. This is where I made my cut, and this is all new. And you can see it by the difference in color. I didn't make any cuts to the outside of the canopy, but I did make one here, and there's new growth here as well. I didn't prune my cherry trees, but you can tell that they are losing a lot of their foliage, and these are the ones that do struggle with the heat. It also suffers from some rust. So now that we're getting into fall, I'll be making a big drastic cut here. But I noticed that we are still getting some new growth. This corner is the one that I'm having second thoughts about, because I think it's just too much. You see, there isn't much foliage. I think the trees struggle in this area just because it's the far end corner. However, this apple does really well, even though it has some rust in it, but it still grows, and it grows like crazy. But I might have to remove one of the trees over there so we can get better flow. There's 4 trees here in one corner, and I don't think that that's such a great idea in this case. But we'll see how it goes. Even the little one at the bottom still has some growth, but it didn't put enough growth like it should. My pear tree does have 1 pear, but maybe next year will be better. I do have a wasp nest here. It looks pretty crazy there. Now on the other hand, this is my other pear tree that looks a lot better, and it did have about 4 or 5 pears, and I didn't even get a chance to try one because they fell. But I know next year it will be full of pears. And then we have our figs. We don't have as many figs as last year, but I did want to show you how the growth happened now that it's cleared over here. So this stump was the original tree, and after the freeze, I cut it all back, and then we got all this root growth. So it looks pretty crazy, but my fig tree is still growing, and we have some figs. These are not maturing as good as last year, but we are getting a couple a week. My brown turkey has been the most productive this year. but I think it's because it kept a lot of its old growth. It didn't freeze all the way, so I think that's why we got lucky. It's still full and I have a lot of growth. It's getting near fall, so I'm dropping a lot of leaves. Oh my gosh, we get to harvest one together. How perfect is this? I wanted you to see the back, how it has a lot of figs still to go. And so you see how that was the original trunk. It was all the way up to here, and it's the only one that I was able to keep this tall, and the rest had to start from the ground up. I wanted you to see the sunset here, so that's why we're recording towards the end of the day. But before we see that, let's finish with the citrus. My blood orange is getting crowded with the figs, but it has a lot of new growth, so it looks to be happy. My Clementine Mandarin also has some new growth. Tangelo is looking pretty good. It doesn't have any new growth, but it's very bright and healthy looking. My Dancy Tangerine is the one that I broke almost in half, and it did repair itself. It's leaning a little bit, but I'm fixing that slowly. It does have some deficiencies, but I'm working on it. It had a lot of fruit, and I took most of it off, and I'm gonna take the rest off pretty soon. This grapefruit is not like the one I had before that died in the freeze. This one seems to have a disease issue. I'm not sure what it is yet, and it doesn't look promising. It doesn't have new growth. I'm hoping we can get there. If you know what it is, let me know. My Mars orange is looking good. No foliage issues. Looks pretty healthy. We're just waiting for it to start growing. And my avocados. I know I haven't done what I said I was gonna do. Life just happens. But I still plan on removing them. They're still sticking through, but they are struggling. Well, they're still struggling. It's really my fault. I haven't purchased the pots for them to remove them. I do have intentions on digging them out and add some sand in the soil for better drainage. So I might do that first before I try the pots. But it's been so hot that I really didn't want to disturb them yet. But maybe that was a bad plan. They're still hanging in there. If you can see them. Oh my god, this one's so sad. Like, I'm the worst tree mom in this case. I've got some growth down there, but it's looking pretty terrible. Let's sit down for a minute and try our fig. It's so good. My kid is gonna be upset because I didn't give her any. Well, the outdoor lights are on, so I'm gonna show you what it looks like. I love it out here. I have over 30 fruit trees in this small space. It's small in my eyes. Here in Texas, we have really big yards in some areas, so this is extremely small if you compare it to those. That is it. I wanted you to have a quick update because I think it's important if you're interested in growing trees so that you know what to expect. I hope you decide to grow some trees. If you do, leave me a comment below. If you see something that I should be doing different, please let me know because I do love to hear back from you. I hope you guys have a great Labor Day weekend, and I'll see you next week.